This new Monday live thing that I'm doing. This is exciting. I'm back on Facebook, so that's kind of cool. Give me a second to sort of share everything around and make sure everything's working, because this is back to my old technology, so got to make sure that that still works. Looks like we're good. Looks like things are working. That's great. So I want to talk about what we're actually doing here, because this is a little bit different than what I've done before. So this is going to take the place of the live weekly warm-up, which also kind of was replaced by the live timeline sessions that I was doing. But I think this is going to be maybe the most beneficial so far. I've done a ton of warm-ups and love doing the live weekly warm-up, but I think hopefully by now you all have a good sense for what the warm-ups should be like. The live timeline session was also really fun and really helpful for me, and I may do other timelines in the future for sure, but I think this is going to be maybe a little more interesting and more beneficial for all of you, which is my goal, is to help you have as much fun and as much enjoyment and progress out of your clarinet journey as possible. So what we're doing is, I'm calling it the Monday music motivation. I think you could actually also apply this to any area of your life outside of music too. So if you have some big project you're working on, you can sort of take this same approach, but I'm going to obviously make it music and clarinet specific focused. And what we're going to be doing is, I'm going to give you a little bit of inspiration, motivation, and get you going and excited to play the clarinet this week, hopefully. And then we're also going to, every single week, work together to come up with sort of a game plan for what you're going to be doing over the next week. Sort of like having an accountability person to meet with and say, like, this is how the last week went, this is how the next week's going, and a time for you to sort of journal and reflect on where you've been and where you're going. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The first thing that you should do for this, if you want, is either get just a piece of paper and any writing utensil, or you can go to quickstartclarinet.com/get started, join the free members area, or if you already are part of the free members area, you can go to quickstartclarinet.com/login and log in to get that. I just added this morning a template like this. I have no idea if this is showing up forwards or backwards for you with how it's mirrored. It's very simple though. You don't have to have the actual template. You're, of course, can just do it on your own piece of paper. But we're going to have these 3 sections, and I'm going to sort of talk you through it. But first, before we do that, that's going to be sort of our weekly ritual, how we wrap this stuff up. But first, I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that have been going for me and sort of give you hopefully a little bit of motivation and inspiration. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is just taking action. That's a big reason why I wanted to start doing this, is I think it's super duper helpful for us to just be doing things. The only way that anything is accomplished is by taking action. The pyramids of Giza weren't built just randomly, unless you believe in aliens or something. But no, they were just one brick at a time, and that's how becoming a great clarinet player and a great musician works too. It's just one step at a time, one day of practice at a time, one improvement, one feedback loop at a time, and you get better and better and better. So that's the first thing that I want to say, is just you have to be taking action to do this. And that's why it's a good theme of this, because that's my goal here. I've noticed lots of people watch like the live weekly warm-ups, or watch other of my videos and learn a lot, or have the next generation clarinet method and have all of that information at their disposal. But not a lot of people are taking that action or being as efficient and effective with the action as possible. So that's sort of what this Monday music motivation is about, is to get a plan and get that direction and move forward by taking action. So that's the first thing that I want to really encourage everybody to do, is action is the way things get done. So don't just think about it. Don't just watch videos like this and learn about it, but actually do it. The second thing that I want to talk about today is a little story of my practice last week, and something that I think is a helpful reminder for everybody and was a helpful reminder for me. I was practicing the Copland Concerto just a little bit. Not for any reason in particular. I've never really performed the Copland Concerto. The closest thing that I ever did was play from the beginning through the cadenza for a pre-screen for a grad school audition. So I didn't even play it in the actual auditions. It was just the pre-screen. So it was like, yes, I had to learn it and perform it well, but it wasn't like a major performance. I've never done the whole piece. I've sort of casually looked through it many times, and that's sort of what I'm doing now, just for fun to see how it goes and know it. I think it's a great piece and definitely worth knowing. And because I've casually practiced it like this a few times, I've usually just play through it. I know the piece really well. I've listened to it many times and I know roughly how it goes. So I was just playing through it and I've always just played through it. But last week, I did the part after the cadenza with a metronome, and that was so revealing. I realized there was all kinds of rhythm stuff that I was just approximating. I don't think I was usually going fully at tempo. There were a lot of things that I couldn't quite comfortably play fully at tempo. There were all kinds of rests and stuff that weren't exactly lined up. So learning or playing it with a metronome was very eye-opening for me. And that's the lesson from this, is that even though you feel like you know a piece and you feel like you're getting the rhythms, it's always good to pull out the metronome and really keep yourself honest. Yes, your rhythm might be fine and you might know how the rhythms go, but the metronome doesn't just force you to be steady or exposed when you're not being steady, but it also just adds a little bit of that external pressure that makes it a little bit uh, more stressful and is forcing you to play with something else, which is what you have to do whenever we're making music with other people. You can't just play with your own internal pulse. You have to play with everybody else's pulse. So it's really helpful to have the metronome giving you that sort of example of an external pulse that you have to line up with. So always, always, always practice with your metronome. Play everything with the metronome, at least occasionally, even better, very regularly. That's my second piece of advice. So take action, make that action playing with the metronome, and you'll be in good shape. Now, getting on to the little template. I want to explain how to sort of fill this out, because this is how I'm imagining these going, and they might change a little bit and adjust a little bit as we get into it, and I see what all of you like and what's helpful for me too. But how it's going to work is I'll tell a little story like that about some things that are interesting for me, hopefully inspire you to take action and get your clarinet playing going, and then we'll fill this out together. So the date for today is September 12th. And the first section is a reflection. So this is reflecting on last week. So for me, I would put something about like the metronome was totally eye-opening and I should be playing with the metronome all the time. The next section is a goal. So the goal is going to be what you want to do this week. It's not a too long term of a goal. It's not too short of a goal. It's not like, oh, I need to practice measure 22 in so-and-so piece. That's like a very specific daily goal. And it's also not, I want to be able to play the Copland Concerto, because that's not something that you just learn in a week. The goal should be about a week long. And I think it's really helpful to think in these different sort of time stages. So yes, maybe someday you want to play the Copland Concerto. So maybe the goal for this week is work on the first 3 pages. That's not something you can like get down in just one practice session, but it's also something that is more achievable in a week. So this will also be really helpful for you to like come up with what is achievable for you in a week. So that's what I'm going to do. Actually, I'm not going to do the first 3 pages. I'm going to do, let me pull it up real quick. Because I have the first 3 pages down pretty okay. I'm going to do page 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think 6. Pages 4 through 6. So that's going to be my goal for this week, is really learn, really be comfortable with Copland page 4 through 6. And then the last section is the plan. And for the plan, this is where the magic really happens, and this really helps you to take action. I imagine in future of these, I'm going to be talking a lot about habits, and there's a great book called Atomic Habits by James Clear that's really, really helpful for this idea of how to take action and how to get results in your life. So I'll probably be talking about that more. But the real magic and the best way to make something happen is to actually schedule it, actually put it in your calendar, put it in your planner. And that's what this planning section is about, is to put down the exact dates that you're going to be practicing, the exact times that you're going to be practicing, so you can schedule it like an appointment that you're not going to miss. It's so easy to not want to practice because you're just waiting until you feel like practicing to do it. It's so easy to miss that way. This way, you'll know exactly when you're doing it. And then even better, you can start planning like a practice journal or a practice plan of what you want to achieve and accomplish at those times. So I might say something like, Tuesday from 10 to noon, I'm going to work on page 4 with a metronome, or something like that. Is what you want to have in that planning. So hopefully that makes sense. I definitely want to give you a little bit of time to do that. And that's why we'll always sort of end with filling this out. Really do it. Again, like I said, taking action is the secret to everything. You may be sitting there thinking like, oh yeah, that probably makes sense. But I already have the times that I practice, and I already sort of have all of this stuff that I'm working on. And if you do, that's great. Then it'll be easy to fill this out. But don't let that be an excuse to not fill it out. Remember that the action is what will propel you forward. And if you can get in the habit of having this really clear, concrete goal and plan for the week, then you're going to just keep knocking down goals and getting to that next level and achieving that next step in your clarinet journey. So I highly encourage you to actually take the action on this, actually do this, and I'll wrap this up so that you can go do this. But first, before I wrap it up, I have a very, very special and important thing to tell you about. Next week at 10 a.m. Mountain Time, I'm going to be doing a anxiety-free performance through simple practice live training. Of course, I can't guarantee completely anxiety-free. I think we always have a little bit of anxiety when we're performing, but it's at least very lessened anxiety through this really sort of revolutionary practice framework that I've come up with. And it's taken quite a few different points in my career and my studies to figure out these things. You can really sort of pinpoint, like, in my undergrad, I learned this component of the framework. In my master's, I learned this component of my framework. And actually, while I was studying at Aspen Summer Festival was where I learned the third component of the framework and really started to get this stuff down. And I think it's really going to be powerful for you, especially if you're feeling overwhelmed with things or like you don't know where to go or where to start. First of all, these Monday music motivations will hopefully help with that. But I think this training is going to take it even to the next level. I think it'll be at least an hour long, potentially much longer, depending how deep I go with things. But it's going to really help you to see the foundation that you need. So instead of having this jumbled mess of everything, it'll be like, this is what I need to do. This is what I need to do. This is how to do it. And I think it will hopefully have all of the parts of music coming together. That's what it did for me. I felt overwhelmed and sometimes frustrated or sometimes bored with practicing. But it was when I started to figure out these components that it started to come together. And none of my teachers ever like explicitly taught it to me in these components. It was just from the things that my teachers were having me do, I was sort of able to deduce and figure out and organize this practice framework. And I'm really excited to be sharing it with all of you. I think it's going to be super helpful. So if you haven't already, go to quickstartclarinet.com/simple and get registered for that. And again, the links to everything are in the description, wherever that is. There's quickstartclarinet.com/get started to get this template if you want the template from the free members area. Log in if you've already have access to the free members area, and you should see the Monday music motivation template is up there now. And quickstartclarinet.com/simple to get registered for the anxiety-free performance through simple practice live training that's happening next Monday. If you can't be there live, still register to be able to get a replay. And now go fill this out. Either go download the template and fill it out on the template, or just grab a piece of paper. Or if you already have a practice journal, this would be a perfect thing to sort of have at the start of your week for your practice journal. And then you can do your normal practice journaling from there on. And I'll be back next week for us to sort of reflect on the goals that we set for this week, set some new goals for next time, and make a plan to take action and put it into work. Oh, and my camera just died. There's back. Cool. So thanks so much for being here. And I'll see you next week at 9 a.m. for the next Monday Music Motivation. And more importantly, at 10 a.m. for the live training. Again, link in the description, quickstartclarinet.com/simple. I'm going to keep saying it. I'm going to keep talking about it because I think it's going to be so valuable. And I really want everybody to be there, or at least be registered to get the replay. So check that out. Fill out your plan, and I will see you